This is the Bose Soundlink Micro, and I'm going to take it apart completely. I bought two of these about 3 years ago. Was curious what kind of battery these had, because I wanted to be able to replace the battery in it if it were to need replacing once it was outside of its warranty. The way that this is constructed, it kind of created a fortress. The battery life is still decent on these. They don't get used as much as they did before, but they still are my preference to use over any other smart speaker that I've tried. This is not a smart speaker, and I kind of like it that way. Straight up Bluetooth, still for sale on Bose's website. These have worked reliably for over 3 years. My interest is just what's inside, walk through some of the things that I find in there, specifically focusing on the battery and seeing if it's replaceable. My guess is that it probably is, but the question is, how replaceable is it, and with what battery can you replace it with? I have a feeling it's probably some sort of an 18650 arrangement or a pouch cell that Bose has come up with. Enough chat about this, let's start taking it apart. This has got a little tether to attach it to like a bike handlebar, or I've never really used it for anything, but I think it tell you anything about the battery. No. Just that it's UL listed, has some other regulatory compliance markings. If you move around the outside here with a pry tool, you can get this piece of silicon up off of the actual plastic housing. So I'm going to use, I think, a pick to just pry up the adhesive. Try to get underneath it without hopefully breaking all of it. You want to be able to reuse the adhesive for the most part on this silicon edge. Maybe I'll use one of these. Let's just experiment. A little bit more flexible. Yep, there it goes. Kind of gets up underneath there. You can kind of hear the adhesive giving. And then I would just not use any more tools and just pull up on this gently. And you should start to see the adhesive wrapped all the way around. Yeah, there it is. Against the body of the speaker. And we'll just keep pulling on this until we get all of it up. You can just use thin 2A adhesive to put this back down again. That's good for silicon because, you know, silicon doesn't stick to everything. But I'm just pulling this all the way around because what you need to do is to be able to get at these little loops that are holding, and also be careful when you're pulling on this, because if you pull too hard, you might rip the silicon and, you know, damage it or stretch it or deform it. You'd rather not do that. Silicon's pretty robust, but you still want to be gentle. So there's the bottom piece taken off, and you can see it has little features on it that press down into where there are little loops of the silicon that go over posts that hold this whole top piece in place. And all you got to do is just use this is probably too flexible. You can just use it with a spudger with a point. Just grab it. Using plastic tools whenever I can. There we go. That's what you want to do, actually. You just want to get in there with a point like this spudger and push into where this thing is actually held in, and then just lift it up on one side. Well, I just pushed it right back into place again. But stretch it out a little bit and then pull up. I mean, you'll get that free. And then just repeat that for all 8 of them. So now that we have all 8 of them off, the strap stays attached, but this whole outer casing can be pushed up and over, revealing the speaker itself, which looks something like that. This is just the outer casing. It doesn't really provide the water resistance or anything like that. It's just the shock and the aesthetics, because you can see this is the base piece for whatever color you actually pick. It looks like what they did is they sealed the passive radiator. There's 2 passive radiators, one on this side, one on this side behind this metal, I think this is metal or plastic panel, and then there's the actual driver, which is here. There's this fabric-y coating that is, I think, designed to keep low levels of moisture, water from actually hitting the driver or the passive radiator. as this thing is playing music or whatever you're playing through it, the vibration from the speaker and the vibration from the passive radiators will push the water off. So anyways, how do we get inside now? That's a great question. It looks like there is some silicon that is being used to seal this. It's got an IP rating, so this thing can be submerged, I believe. So they do seal this, and I'm gonna break that, and we can reseal it if we need to. And then you're gonna need to peel up a little bit of the side of this where this attaches. It looks like it has an adhesive that rises up on each side. You can actually see it here. This is being pressed over to hold it in place. And then this cover actually holds that in place as well on top. All the buttons are behind more silicon. So the thing is really well sealed. There's the microphone there. And I don't know if these are screw holes. I don't think that there's gonna be any screws. No, those are not screw holes. Yeah, I don't think there's any screw holes. I think it's just gonna be a matter of prying apart this case. My guess is that there are teeth on the top side of the clamshell that you gotta push back and then they'll release and this will open up. Yeah, you can see them here too. And then there's a row of them, and this is just the silicon that's just sealing it. So we're gonna kind of break through all that silicon now. And this could get a bit challenging. This could be I don't know, we'll see how long this takes. I'm going to use some silicone to reseal this, so it will be waterproof again once I close it back up again, but I want to kind of get through all this right now. And maybe move these. They don't seem like they want to move. It definitely separates along this line. The question is how to get it open without damaging everything. I feel like it does snap together. My guess is that it really does just snap, but it's really hard plastic, so that's my only concern, is that this isn't going to want to move willingly, and these aren't going anywhere. I really thought that would need a wider blade. I don't really care if I chew up the plastic on the outside because it's got a nice silicone cover that goes over the outside and, you know, makes it look nice. So give me like super wide. No, it's not going in there. I thought I had a way in. I thought I really visualized it before and thought, oh, that's how I'll get in there. And I've seen a couple of YouTube videos of people who've just torn apart these things, but those videos, it wasn't about the repair. It was like, here, I ripped it apart. I mean, the only thing I can think of is just to cut with like a blade and see if the blade can get farther without slicing myself. I'd imagine they'd make a channel inside. So this is like an outer lip. There'd be like a channel and then an inner lip to like really seal this thing up. But there's gotta be a way inside of this. There's gotta be a way. What I've discovered is that it is going to take some prying down to get these clips released. I don't know if that's going to be a one-way trip or not, as in damaging the clips. We'll see. I'm going to try to not damage them and just kind of push them out of the way and pop the top of this case off. There is silicone adhesive all around this, so the more you can cut away this outer layer, even though it's not really the main layer sealing it, I'm expecting there's going to be an inner layer here, the better. So I'm wearing gloves to protect my finger. These are just general purpose gloves. Work gloves are not like anything special. But I am able to get this blade into this and I can feel it. Of course, it's not going to do it now at all. But I can feel it in a couple other places where it will slide underneath those clips. It's not super hard adhesive, so it's definitely there to keep it sealed shut, but not really there to adhesive the whole thing closed. But let's see if I can get in there and get beneath those clips. It's just not designed for what I'm trying to do to it. I think I'm actually mangling the thing. Well, it was a spot here where it actually did go in. The blade's inside, so I can kind of cut through and get a little more access, but it looks like it's hard to tell with this white silicone if I'm either getting inside there and actually opening it, or I'm just fatiguing the hell out of the plastic and it's all going to come apart and break. In which case, that would be sad because I do like these speakers. Let's see what we get. I can get over here. And that seems to be releasing it, but it's not opening it. So I'm able to get in there to get those clips released. There's some videos out there that are showing how to open this, but then they don't show the process. They just show like, oh, here, I've got it open now. Here's what you do. And it's like, that's not really working. So the point is to show how the whole thing comes apart, and so that you can see it step by step, not, hey, I mean, yeah, I do cut forward because you don't want to watch a 3-hour video of me doing this, but it hasn't been 3 hours yet, but I'm also trying to cut through that adhesive when it's kind of binding. I'm kind of cutting into the plastic shell. There's a lot of black plastic here, which I'm not super keen on seeing because that means I'm ripping apart the shell and not the adhesive, which is not great. That sounded promising. So let's see if I can get her in there now with a flat blade. No, doesn't want to. Doesn't want to pry at all. It looks like what I'm doing actually is just destroying these clips, which might be, yep, it looks like they're all big. That's what's coming off, is all these clips. This might be a one-way trip, and then sealing it back up is the only way, besides some special purpose jig that perhaps Bose uses. You can see the blade going behind all of the clips. So I've just destroyed all 5 clips that are holding this together. On that side, yeah, I wish there was a better way to do this, because this is a sealed chamber. My aim is to, once it's done, is to seal this whole thing back up again. And if it's not sealed, the bass response is going to be pretty terrible, because the passive radiators require a sealed chamber in order for this to have the best bass response. It's not a bass reflex system where there's an open port or anything like that. A sealed system with passive radiators is actually more efficient. This side doesn't seem like it wants to move at all. I was pretty sure that this was going to be a one-way trip. And by one-way trip, I mean it's going to require some level of work to get this back together again and be sealed and function properly, because this is just not designed to be taken apart. And that's kind of a bummer. I was thinking about dremeling, but not knowing where the battery's at, I'd rather not do that. I feel like I'm just chewing into this plastic to the point where there's so much plastic now sitting on the bench that I don't really feel like it's going to matter much what I do. so long as I don't destroy the entire shell, because I'd rather not do that. This one does not want to go in there. There were two sides. I was able to get the tool behind there, but this does not even want to go back there at all. I would have thought that by now I could get a flat blade in there and pry this open, but it does not seem like that's going to happen. But I was going to try to pry it with a... That seems to be working a little bit. With a blade. It's not really the blade that I need, it's just a flat, long piece of metal to get this open. But that doesn't seem to be working. Can I use just a Phillips? Now that I've made enough of a gap to get in there. Jesus. Yeah, I don't know how people are just saying, oh, this is how you get it open. It's super easy. You just got to do this, this, this. That's not my experience. And these are now bending. I'm just bending the crap out of this. So this could require a lot more sealant if it ever goes back together. My guess is that what I'm doing is I'm breaking the plastic for sure, but I'm also that the silicone that's sealing this is being opened, and that is the other challenging bit about this, is getting that silicone, like that seal that's around the inside, the bead that's holding it together, open. And this blade isn't really going to cut it all the way. It might. Maybe if I was more patient, I could get all the way around with this blade. I don't know. Maybe. I just am kind of concerned because it's a metal blade and I don't want to stab into electronics, but I don't think they're around the outside of this. That'd be kind of silly for assembly purposes. Let's try the blade again. Like this. There we go. Oh, wow, it's coming apart now. Okay. It is that silicone. If you can watch where the blade is at, you can see this inside where the silicone is holding it together. So, okay. So do as I say, not as I do. Just be really, really patient with a pry tool, a good pry tool, probably not this one. You want something that's a little bit more robust and you can use to get perhaps, I don't know how you're going to get around these clips without perhaps dissolving the silicone. It's kind of a bummer that I cracked that. With enough silicone kind of pushing that back in place and enough silicone, I think I can seal it back together. Yeah, we're getting really close now. Okay, persistence. I think I'm going to need another blade. Another. To get inside there. To separate these two halves. It's still just really, really not wanting to come apart. And is this the one I have not actually released yet? Can't remember. Yeah, I think so. I think the blade needs to get in here and mangle up these. No, I've already gotten in here. Okay, so it might just be getting around the corners. Being very careful with the blade because you don't want to cut yourself. Even though it's a soft tip, you can still pretty easily cut yourself. That's why I'm wearing a glove. Okay. Let's see how we're looking now. I don't have anything plastic left to torque onto because I've chewed it all up. That is pretty mangled. That's not how I thought this would go. Let's use the blade. Again, being very careful. You can't get any leverage, and the more that I'm peeling away the plastic, the more that I'm losing areas to get any kind of leverage. Yeah, this is just chewing away at it. Well, you live and you learn. If I could just see inside of it, I can see if I can put the screwdriver inside there and pry it up further, but that's kind of what I'm a little bit nervous about even doing, because the speaker and the passive radiator are right down in the bottom there. So if I were to just go in there blindly, which I might just do anyways. There we go. I think I can get my finger in there now. And pull on this. Hang on 1 second. Let's see if we can just pull it. There's nothing to grip onto. Getting closer, I can feel it separating. There we go. Oh wow, that sounded satisfying. It probably wasn't good for it, but yeah, that sounded very satisfying. Okay, still not moving. I think we're inside. Oh, we are inside. Okay, I'm gonna be gentle here. Yeah, I did put the the blade all the way in. Yeah, whatever. Be careful. Like I'm just gonna get this blade just to the point where it's in between the inner and outer case. See, oh, there's a lot more silicon there. You can see where the inner silicon seal is, the main seal. And let's see if I can pry this. Just get that open on one side and then get another blade on the other side. Can I get anything to open? Come on. Come on. Thing is so, it's pinching on my fingers. The inner seal looks good still. It's like I haven't really damaged the inside too much. The outside looks terrible. I mean, this is just a mess. And like I said, if you watch this and you just have a little bit more patience than I did, I think you can do this without mangling it so much. I'm gonna try this plastic tool to get it in there. Is there anything that's? I think we're pretty clear. I see the speaker driver there. So there's just no leverage. Wow. I gotta say, they found a way to really seal this thing up good. For it to have the IP rating that it does, it needs to have a pretty tight seal. Okay, maybe I can just pull this apart now without cracking the whole thing. Come on. There we go. There we go. It is that silicon seal. Wow, it's really strong. And it has adhesive on the battery. Hey, we're coming inside. Hello. And I broke all this. I broke all the clips. We are inside. Wow. I'm gonna take a quick break. And we'll be right back to discuss what's inside here. I see some great news about the battery.